That hasn't happened. First of all, would you deem that as a success of the United States, both in terms of diplomacy and military posture in the region, that might have deterred it so far? And are you still expecting it is the threat as real as it was a couple of weeks ago? Are you still alert?
So a few things, as we've said, I don't have the prediction calendar crystal ball to predict and to forecast an attack. What I can tell you is I think we certainly got into the headspace of Iran and how they're making their calculations. You have two carrier strike groups in the region. We have said both very publicly and privately that we are there to protect our forces and will, of course, always stand in the defense of Israel should we need to. Whether that's impacted Iran's calculation, I think it has affected their decision making. Will there be an attack? I can't predict the future. I can't answer that. We remain postured, though, to protect our forces. And of course, if we need to, come to the defense of Israel.
Again, one more. Earlier this week, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff said that since we've seen the Hezbollah attack, now we can say that there's less of a chance of a regional war. Do you share that assessment that Iran could also conduct an attack on a similar level, not something that's going to spark a regional war? Do you think their hands are tied a little bit because of the US military posture? Do you feel like that attack is going to be limited?
Again, I can't predict what an attack would look like. What I can tell you is I don't think anyone wants to see a regional war. We certainly don't, and that's why we've made the decisions, or the Secretary has made the decisions to move different carrier strike groups throughout the region since October 7th, to rotate different and to bolster our force posture and our force presence in the region. We announced like a month ago, we have another squadron of F-22s in the region. So we're going to continue to take the steps that we need to send a message of deterrence, because that's ultimately what we're sending. And all the capabilities that we're sending, they are there to be defensive in nature. Beyond that, I can't predict what other actors will do, other than to say that we, the United States, do not want to see a broader regional war, and we've said that from the very beginning. Yes.
Thank you. My question is about China. Okay. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing yesterday, and they agreed to have a telephone call of theater commanders in the near future. Yep. So can you give us a little bit more about the schedule of this phone call, and is Secretary himself planning to have a phone call with his counterparts in the near future?
So I don't have any calls to announce or preview today, but we certainly welcome any time that there are high-level mill-to-mill calls between the PRC and the United States. You saw the National Security Advisor say just that in some of his readouts from his meetings. But when we have more calls to announce, we will, but I just don't have more at this time. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Jahan Zebadi from Airway News, Pakistan. There were a series of terrorist attacks in Pakistan, and you just spoke about it. How the U.S. can help Pakistan rooting out terrorism from that region?
Look, we always remain willing to work with any nation that wants to root out a terrorist organization. We have good, cooperation with the Pakistani government, but in terms of these attacks, I don't have anything for you other than that. We of course condemn them. And should anything change in our cooperation with the Pakistani government, I'm happy to keep you updated on that, but I just don't have more to provide at this time.
The Defense Minister was here and had meetings in this building, and a few months ago he made a public statement that today's India goes to the safe havens of individuals who challenge India's territorial integrity and kill them. And after that statement, we have seen a killing of Sikh activists in Canada, and there is an assassination attempt on a US citizen, another Sikh activist in New York, Gurpan Singh Pannu. So is there any discussion on that matter? Because India said they are still investigating that matter. There is one person arrested by the US authorities, Nikhil Gupta. So any discussion on that?
I don't have anything for you on that specifically. There was a readout that we put out after the meeting. I'm just not going to get beyond that. Yes.
Thank you, Sabrina. Regarding to the West Bank operation for the IDF, the United Nations Secretary Guterres described this military operation as like a dangerous development, and he asked to stop this, and he said that's already explosive, the situation. So do you share with him his concerns, and especially when We see all the readout from the Secretary Austin when he called his Israeli counterpart. He'd always ask to de-escalate and don't take any steps that maybe make the escalation higher. So what do you say about that thing?
Well, that's something that I'll reiterate here is that we certainly don't want to see an escalation. We want to see tensions to de-escalate in the region. We are aware that the IDF is conducting operations in the West Bank, but again, we don't have an understanding of what that exactly is. We're trying to learn more about their operation. The United States supports Israel's right to defend itself against threats to its security, but as always, and as we will continue to say, it has to do so in a way that limits civilian casualties and limits damage to civilian infrastructure. And that's something that will always be imparted. And you've seen that message come through in the Secretary's readouts with his counterpart. Yeah, yes.
Thank you. I have a couple on Ukraine. Today, Ukrainian foreign minister said that the Patriot systems announced for Ukraine previously by the partners have not yet been delivered. Could you speak more to that? What causes a delay here?
A specific system by partners?
Those Patriot systems that were announced for Ukraine previously.
There are Patriot systems operating within Ukraine. I would defer to them.
Most recently during the
We have, I don't have anything to read out or announce on the Patriot system. We've committed to providing them to Ukraine. Look, we continue to work with them when it comes to providing security assistance. The Patriot is quite a big system that we are sourcing different materials and component pieces from other countries to help Ukraine. I'd let Ukraine speak to that more specifically, but what I can tell you is they are getting a regular supply and support of security assistance from the United States and other partners that are part of the UDCG. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You had other questions?
Expedite those deliveries given the recent massive attacks from Russia?
I think we've certainly expedited delivery of not just the Patriot, but other systems and capabilities to Ukraine, including reordering some orders by that were designated for other countries. We've prioritized Ukraine. So I'd actually push back on the fact that we haven't prioritized Ukraine as a country that needs it most. Noah.
I want to follow up on the CMC question. Was there any DoD involvement in that meeting, whether through preparation or actually during the call or the meeting itself?
On the CMC meeting?
Yeah, the vice chair with China.
That was an NSC-led meeting. That was, the National Security Advisor traveled to meet his counterparts. We, of course, engage at our level, but I'm not aware of any DoD participation.
And I know in the past there's been confusion about who the vice chair's counterpart is in the U.S., whether that's Secretary Austin or whether his counterpart is actually the Minister of National Defense there. Is this a sign that you think the Chinese are seeing the National Security Advisor as a more natural counterpart than the Secretary of Defense?
I think it's a sign, Noah, that we are having broader and more frequent communications with the PRC, which is a good thing. We want to see that happen. The fact that the National Security Advisor, and again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the White House, but the fact that he was able to travel, engage with his counterpart, other officials, part of the government, that's a good thing that opens up communications lines here, allows us to maintain those mill-to-mill ties as well. Just going to leave it at that.
Just a quick follow-up back on the F-16.
Sure.
Ukraine has acknowledged the loss of the F-16, and former Rep. Adam Kinzinger has acknowledged that the pilot lost on Monday was one known as by his call sign as Moonfish. He was one of 2 Ukrainian pilots that were actually very vocal here in the U.S. pushing for fighter jets, going to training in Arizona. Is there any chance that this F-16 was brought down by friendly fire, by one of the Ukrainian Patriot missiles, for example?
So, again, I can't confirm I've seen the reporting. I just can't confirm it. I don't have that level of fidelity right now. So in terms of if this pilot was killed and it was brought down by friendly fire, that I just can't speak to. That'd really be something for the Ukrainians to speak to. The United States has not been asked to participate in any type of investigation to look into this incident. So, our role in this is that we continue to train and equip the Ukrainian pilots that come here for training. But when it comes to this particular incident, and I understand the frustration, but I don't have anything more to offer on it.
But is there a follow-on with the F-16s that have been delivered? Is there any sort of ongoing relationship? Is the U.S. tracking the F-16s? Are you providing ongoing maintenance? Are they,
It's not just the United States. You have to remember that there's an air capability coalition that has been stood up that the U.S. is, of course, a part of. So it's not just the United States providing support. Absolutely, the U.S. military is working with the Ukrainians on what they need, whether it be maintenance or, and that's, telephonic or, remote maintenance support and help. In terms of, tracking the F-16s, I'm not going to get into that level of detail, but we are certainly working with the pilots and the Ukrainian military to make sure that they are able to fly and operate these F-16s in the best way possible, and making sure that they're doing so safely. And we're providing that support and continuing to train. Okay, thanks everyone. Leave it at that.